The Acumen states architecture in particular, with its high proportion of creative and artistic minds, has not been noted for its speed to adapt to commercial considerations such as costing, budgeting, advertising, and profit planning. Therefore, it has been recognised that it may be necessary at times for architects to seek the support of a range of experts to assist in managing the business side of their firm. So, what external expertise, if any, have you sought to support the management of your business?
It's been a bit of an evolution. So when I started this practice, it was just me. So I did everything, and I had to learn a lot about everything, which was great because as we've evolved, we've grown, and the responsibility of doing bookkeeping or data entry or paying wages is sort of transferred to other people. It's been good because I've had a really grounded understanding of how to do that from the start. What we do is we have an accountant who's also a business advisor, and he's a good friend, and you really have to trust in that person because they're providing really sound business advice as well as financial advice to us. We also, through various means of research and we also run a practice management software system called Synergy, which is something we took on, which has a great cost, but something we took on as an incentive to get better qualified in terms of practice administration. There's that, and then we also have a bookkeeper who comes in 1 day a week to help just with the data entry and the day-to-day shuffling of funds and that sort of stuff. But overarchingly is my control and understanding of law, which is really important as a sole practitioner with 7 staff. There's a lot of balls in the air to juggle at once. So, yeah, the evolution has been from me doing it all to now having staff and outside contractors which help us.
Get it.
So initially, it's advice from solicitor, an accountant in terms of setting up the business. From there, we have to learn some of the skills that you're not taught because you can't afford to pay people.
My wife and I have registered the business, and she's always been involved as a director, silent director I guess, but equally she's been managing has been managing all the finances up until the last few years. My wife is professional public servant, so neither of us are formally trained in money matters, and I think that's something that we both agree that if we were going this path again, we'd probably seek to do that differently. Certainly a number of my friends and colleagues have done business degrees or sections of it, and that has helped them in relation to doing the business, if you like.
Architecture firms may need alternative financial streams during economic cycles, such as investments, merging with other firms, or relying on savings or a partner's income. Other than expanding and contracting by hiring and firing staff, what are your firm's strategies for sustaining cash flow throughout business cycles?
We now have full-time bookkeeper, full-time admin person, part-time practice manager, part-time HR person, multiple architects, registered and graduates, and multiple students, a total of 23. All that has been grown step by step. It wasn't until about 6 years ago that we had to start an overdraft, and that was purely for the GFC, which helped us get through. We always have cash in the bank, and that cash can only go so far when you don't have it coming in. There'll be days you have a lot of money, there'll be days you don't have enough money. The overdraft is to cover for those days you don't have enough. We currently have an overdraft, but we haven't used it for 18 months because we had so much cash in the bank. But when the world is not cruising that well, you end up having to use that because you may find times where there's just not enough to pay the wages, and then 2 weeks later, all your money comes in. So it's to fill those potholes as you move along. People are the most important thing. If you look after them, when the times are bad, we can all go through it together. You don't have everyone jumping out. You will always have those people that are chasing the money, But as long as there's balance, when the times are good, you look after people. You don't look after them at the top level, but you don't look after them at the bottom level, that it will balance out.
Bank to provide, or to not provide support, but to allow us to use the mortgage for our house as an offset for the finance for the business. So that was pretty low stress in relation to when money's coming in, that's good, the mortgage is low, and when money's going out, then the mortgage is high, and you've still got the same payment going out. So that's how we ran the business, and we went through a couple of economic cycles, but because the business was based on domestic and multi-res work, then that really did allow continuity of business and not too many interruptions.
In the past, we might have employed more or less staff, but we made a conscious decision about 7 or 8 years ago to stop doing that. And more recently, in the last 3 years, we've made a real conscious decision to keep a manageable staff level and collaborate with the way our business model works, working in New Zealand and working in the Asia Pacific region, as well as here in Brisbane, Sydney. So we're quite diversified in our location of work. We have to be able to collaborate well with other people to get those jobs done. So it enables us to also have outside collaborations where we need the help. So we don't have to swallow and grow our staff, which is actually a very counterproductive way of running a business. From a management point of view, then diversification is obviously another strategy we have to avoid the slumps. So my goal in this practice is to actually not have a slump. Well, I've never done a percentage fee, ever, and I never would. When I started this practice, I made a point of telling everyone that we would never do a percentage fee, because there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it's a really great marketing tool, because my perception of a percentage fee, rightly or wrongly, is that while it values the services of architects in the project based on cost, it doesn't value the services of architects based on skill or based on deliverables. So for us as a practice, we didn't want to be in a position where we had to value ourselves based on the cost of the project. So that was the first point. The second point is it's not fair, because if my client, for whatever reason, wants to spend $1 million buying the best tiles in the world to put in their kitchen or their bathroom or to put in their project, while they could possibly go and buy something for a quarter of the price, and it changes the fee of us to specify a higher end product. It doesn't make sense. Effectively, the client's paying for us to buy a better product, even though we specify it. It doesn't make it any harder to do.
We calculate the job based on what we believe it will be. We take into consideration how big the job is, and just share experience. We'll say it's going to be 100 units. It's roughly costs us X dollars per unit, therefore it's this much. Yes, you can correlate that with a percentage, but at the end of the day, we know that our dollar value across a job, on a sliding scale depending on the scale of the projects, will be profitable to us. We have a pricing structure we know based on scale of project. We look at the complexities, we add a bit more in for complexities.
Well, again, my business model is slightly different to that, in that because I've been doing these similar projects for a while, I know roughly how many houses involved, and so I have a number of repeat clients, and so I basically negotiate the fee in relation to the amount of documentation and design we do. I generally make allowances with my clients to say, well, these are the fee outlines for the project, and so I understand what my costing in the office is. I understand what the hours cost, and try and arrange it so that I've got a profit percentage, and negotiate the fees pretty accurately in relation to what the project cost plus profit is.
Most client management issues relating to payment are usually handled within the client-architect agreement. According to theory, the agreement is a binding document that reflects the intentions of parties involved. Details include rights, liability, services, and payment. However, it is widely known that architecture firms commonly experience problems due to failure to collect payment. What are the client management issues that you have experienced, and how do you deal with them?
There was an issue on site that was sort of our making, sort of their making, and lack of involvement by others. But we agreed to forego that invoice to keep the car. There was no insurance claim because the client understood, look, there's no point in chasing us. There was grey areas and we'd suffered some of the pain. So that's how we dealt with that. If there are problems, if I was starting a business again, with what I know now, you prepare an invoice, you issue it and make sure that if you get a phone call, that you've got a fair amount of work against the amount of the invoice. Just because you don't have cash flow that month doesn't mean you charge a client more. People do see through that. If there is a problem, sometimes you need to cut your losses a bit and make a fair value judgment of your performance. Don't think that just because you've got a fee agreement that it's your right to claim that money, because the client has just as much right for you to perform your duty in a timely and accurate manner. So it's not just about you, it's about the client first, you second, but there's always give and take. So make sure it's a two-way street. Follow up your invoicing, and if there's any changes, make sure there's no surprises. If you got an invoice from someone and it's different to what you expect, would you be surprised? Yep. So why should the client be any different?
Quite often in my area of work, startup costs are prohibitive for clients. That's when they don't have any money, there's no finance available. It's when the development approval is released that money is available, and then at the end when construction is underway there's money available there, or at sales there's money available there. So by targeting my billings and fee arrangements about the time when the client has money, then I can negotiate a reasonable outcome. And if I go over on my allowances, I talk to the clients and I say, well, I went over in this section here when they say they've sold their property. I went over in this section here, and would you be able to make up that shortfall? And if they say no, I say that's fine, you don't have to do that, but I don't have to work for you either.
I find that there's nothing that can't be resolved. Even the worst problem you can imagine, you can always find a resolution for it if you know what to do and know how to deal with people in a courteous and respectful manner. So, have we had problems where we've had falling outs with the client? Yeah, but not many that we haven't been able to solve. And I think it comes back to having the wherewithal to actually deal with your client on another level, as opposed to just a contractual level. See, when I started practicing, I came from a place where deals were done on a handshake, and you work with your bond, and the contract was there as a safeguard, and that was kind of how I started my career with another architecture practice. And that caused problems, yes, but if you dealt with them in the right way, you could always overcome them.
Over time, the experiences gathered by an architect involved in running an architecture firm, as they navigate the ins and outs of overseeing the finances involved, can result in valuable insight. What is your best piece of advice?
Make sure you invoice and you follow up your invoices and you get your money in. If you don't get your money in, you can't pay the people and you've got serious problems. First of all, make sure you get advice first before you even set it up. Make sure you have a realistic cash flow and business plan. Don't dream that every client is going to commit to exactly what they've told you. If they do, take that divided by half again, and then take 10% of that.
Communication, that's the key to it. You can be an anonymous person on an email or on an invoice. You will not know if the client's got a problem with what you've done. You will not know if what you've delivered has actually reached the client. You know, just get on the phone and call. And if you can't get them, call again. If you know, just persistence. And if you talk to them face to face or on the phone, then you can. I think people get too scared about what they're going to say. You know, like there's some. You know, we're reading into it that we've done something wrong because they haven't paid their bill. They've probably just forgotten. Just ring them and find out. And if there's something wrong, then you can fix it. You know, and that's my philosophy. Communication, just.
Well, it's a very interesting question, and I guess the answer to that lies in the basic premise about how I'm doing, and that is to have lots of smaller projects rather than many large projects. So I really like to have one or two really large projects because they overarch a couple of years' work and gives it continuity. But certainly having lots of smaller projects allows that versatility. I've got some advice that my cousin gave to me. That is, never write an invoice for anything greater than you can afford to lose. If you use that philosophy, you can't go wrong.
Putting yourself in their position is the key. I always try and do that. So I always say, what are they thinking? How are they, let's find out what the issue is, because then we can actually deal with it at their level or at our level and give them the answer they need. So that's why I think we're quite successful with a lot of our design and construct type arrangements which we have. We understand not only how the buildings go together and to solve problems, but we can meet people's expectations. I almost say, there's an old Chinese proverb, Sun Tzu said, if you can understand your enemies, what they're going to do before they do it, you'll be better off to succeed, So actually putting yourself in their mind first, you'll always be able to find the right way.